Paul said he's not coming.
No Paul Sager,
No Paul Sager.
And no Justin, and.
And Rob,
Rob-
Rob's on the road.
This is.
You guys didn't go? All right. You are recording.
Did I put the wrong? Yeah. For his face.
Welcome to the Columbia Open Space Committee regular meeting for Thursday, December 19, 2024 at 9 a.m. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of November 21, 2024.
We need a correction at least.
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
got credit for seconding the minutes. I wasn't here at that meeting. But in spirit,
That's what I did.
I hope I could be excused.
Correction noted.
Chris, I was gonna contact you, but I saw this when it first came out. I was gonna say, you know, I'll write them.
He was too sick to.
That's right. But I've already got you in the notes for making the motion for today's approval, so you have to. I'm not
That's
gonna
correct.
retype that.
That's correct. Then we're good.
You're okay, yeah.
Oh,
Okay, any other additions, corrections?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor? Aye,
Mhm.
opposed? Abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Okay, so. Okay. Audience of citizens, we don't. Well, we have time, but we'll hear from him later. And we have no, delegate honor or Liz or no. Good morning, Liz.
She's still clocking.
Um,
Liz is in the house. Hello.
Good morning, Liz.
She's muted. Mute.
I got, good morning. How is everyone today?
You're just in time. You're-
Perfect.
We just got you on the agenda, so go.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, wonderful. So yeah, nice seeing you all again. It's been a few months since we were there doing our site visit out back in September. So we are working through the concept plan right now. Really what I want to share today, I can share the survey results with you all, but kind of our timeline and what we've been doing with our meetings with Deep and folks working through that concept. They really want to get through their process before we get into sharing concepts with the wider stakeholder group. So we're kind of in a holding pattern for that right now. We do have a concept plan developed, but we're working through their process and trying to respect that this is a new process for them to work with a consultant and trying to figure out how best to move this project forward. So that means right now we've presented them the concept plan and the stakeholder engagement results. And we're going to provide them some more details so they can do their internal environmental and other resource specialist review. From that review, we're really looking forward to having some results. Timeline wise, they're talking about early February to late February for actual like timing for their teams to get through this process. So as that tracks out, it's looking like we'll be able to do a review with the rest of the stakeholders here likely in March for the full concept review. And then as we get through that, getting it out into more of that public view and having some meetings there. So I don't want you to think we've forgotten about this project and nothing's happening. There is a lot happening. It's just very much in the background right now. And I don't know if you have any questions regarding that.
Any teasers to keep us excited?
I think you'll all be very happy with what we've come up with and how we've thought about, you know, the responses from the community, because we did get a really good community response at that open house in September. So it's very much going to be serving, I think, all the needs of both folks wanting to have that areas for hiking only, biking only, and shared use. There's going to be a good mix and trying to respond to both the needs and the desires of what those spaces can look like and how to use that area. So I'm optimistic that everyone here will be excited about the plan once it comes into we can share it more fully. But we really do want to make sure that Deep is comfortable with what's being put out there, and they've had their full everyone internally has had a chance to really have a say in what's being put out, because ultimately it is their plan that they're gonna have to execute on and manage. So trying to be very mindful of that.
Liz, did many stakeholders after the event contribute online?
We did not get a big response. We got about 20 respondents on the online portion of it. The majority of the stakeholder response was from that community in-person meeting, which makes sense, being how this was very much a community focused plan. And I think, you know, what we had there was really encouraging. I believe we had well over 50 people show up to that event, which was really amazing. So and if you like, I can share screens and share kind of that analysis that we have from that stakeholder event, if we have time for that.
Oh, that would be great.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, I will, let's see, I'll share that screen. And we can walk through. Is everyone seeing the Mono Pond Community Engagement Survey results?
Yes.
Is there?
Okay, awesome.
Tom, is that you dancing?
Yes.
Oh, is that, yes, yeah, here is everyone in that great space at the winery. That was one of, that was a wonderful place for an event. We were really excited for that space, and the turnout there, as you can see, was pretty, I think that was still actually early on in that evening. So, yeah, very successful community event there. So, from this is a compilation of the boards and, online results of the questions that were asked. So, you know, that first, the bigger question, and there was a series of boards with those kind of slider bars of different trail types of people wanting to see, gotta have it nice to include and don't need it. So based on those findings, and I can zoom in a little bit so we can look at actually the numbers a little bit better. You know, the top desired trail type was shared use trail, and traditional single track shared use trail type. That was at 85% responded that they gotta have it. Mountain bike optimized trails was actually up there fairly high too at 77%. And then along with those, there was a really strong response for, you know, nature trails, hike only trails, some skills areas, but you know, that breadth of traditional shared use, biking, hiking, and then even equestrian. We got equestrian respondents at 48% of gotta have it. Similar to that universal access trail type. So, you know, a lot of support for kind of a broad range of trail use, and then some less support for more of those like adaptive and winter focused trails, which makes sense considering, and I don't know if you even have snow right there. We had snow here and lost it. And so understanding that like, that's a very ephemeral or can be ephemeral trail experience in certain areas. So yeah.
Liz, what is fat biking? Is that big fat tires?
Yeah, fat biking, winter fat biking is the fat tire bikes. Primarily people use them in the winter on snow or frozen surfaces. It's really popular. It's really popular in the upper Midwest, actually. And we see it in the Northeast a good bit, but like, yeah, it's often for those like Nordic skiing. People that do that, there's often like a groomed, or people go out there and pack in the trail to make that usable for fat bikes. So you see there's a really good system up in the Kingdom Trails, Vermont, where they do fat biking. But they groom all of those as a separate part of their Nordic network. So but knowing that they also get a bit more snow than you probably do in Columbia.
And the MTB, is that mountain trail bike or what's that?
Mountain bike, yeah. That was just sorry. That's just yeah, MTB stands for mountain bike. Just
Okay.
acronym to shorten that word in there. So mountain bike skills area. That was like looking at options for, skills development on, natural or man-made features such as like rock and things like that. Specific areas. We separate out skills areas as like a separate area to kind of where people and young kids can learn some skills before getting onto the larger trail system. That's how that was parsed out in there.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yep.
Liz, could you, attach that sheet to an email for us?
Yes, I will. I will send this along for all of you, and we can go through. There's some more questions. There's like 13 pages, so kind of teasing out some more of that information. But I will definitely share this with all of you. So the second one was asking about amenities and things that people wanted to see at Mono Pond. Specifically, the top one here was trail maps and wayfinding. That's pretty common across all the areas we see, that people, if there are trails, people want to know what's there and where to go and how long they're going to be out. So that's a pretty common response. Again, parking, which is that issue that we're dealing with for the full area here, but parking is needed, or access is needed for some folks to get to the site. Again, interpretive signage kind of fits in with that trail maps at 71%. And then there was a bit less desire and need for some of these other items, such as water, picnic area, restrooms. I always feel like that's going to get a bigger response, but it's not always the case. Although I think that's something that, is very nice to have, and something that should be included in most recommendations is some sort of, whether it's pit toilets or porta johns, something like that is usually a nice thing to have at trailheads. And then the bridge connection between the existing Mono Pond area and the newer acquired parcels had 60%, but a small number of respondents actually answered that question. So and then existing activities that people engage in currently, which is, this was not surprising to see, walking and hiking is the major way people use the existing trail system, along with canoeing, dog walking, wildlife viewing. Those are all high up there in the respondent category, along with mountain biking, fishing, trail running. Folks riding in the area, gravel riding, using the airline trail. And horse use was in kind of the mid-range, along with some of the other activities like hunting, and again, fat biking and ice skating, I guess, when the pond is frozen. Favorite trails, the red trail comes in at the top, followed by the yellow trail and the white trail. So those are all, that existing trail system, along with some of the other, some folks are using some of the other existing parts of that trail network.
Now, are you including the town-owned properties in that area as a part of this whole master plan?
Yes, we are including the Mint Brook Preserve area that we toured as part of, our thinking in trail access and connectivity. And I think Deep is looking at it as connectivity options too. So yes, that is all part of the larger plan.
I don't know if you guys had any information, Hebron, the next town to us, they have a bunch of trails, greenways that are gonna connect or have connected the airline trail to downtown Hebron. I can forward you a link for that if you don't already have that information.
I don't, that's great though. That's really good to hear. That's a great opportunity, and that's something that we're looking at here too, is the airline trail is providing a lot of connectivity to these other green spaces. But yes, hearing that Hebron is doing that as well, I would love to have that information that we can kind of include in more of our general information to Deep as well.
Yeah, I think what I'm expecting is we'll be able to get a loop trail that would bring you from Hebron Center on the old Wellswood, Zola Road into the park, and then down through the Mint Brook Preserve, and then back the airline trail to the greenways back up to Hebron Center.
Okay.
That'd be all on that western side of the park.
Okay, yeah, share that because that's something that we can kind of add into that larger connectivity piece, thinking about that, the community connectivities.
I wanted to bring you up to date on 3 things, which I think I probably already copied you in on. One was Friends of Monmouth Pond. We again applied for a grant in December for the remediation of the aquatic invasives in Monmouth Pond. I don't know if you included that kind of stuff in your plan or something.
We haven't put that in there yet. We're still kind of working on the trail side of the details, but I believe Deep is aware of that as part of that larger kind of the larger network of what's happening.
And then the next thing was the airline trail has 12 towns on it, and we're in the process of forming a formal 501c3 airline trail state park alliance.
Oh, nice.
And at this point, I've been asked to be the vice president of that new organization, and then to also be the chair for the south section, which is Willimantic to Portland. So the integration of the 2 parks is gonna be key as far as sharing parking lots or not. And then the third thing was, if you've talked to Honor at all, they're still moving forward with the Camp Laurel Girl Scout camp down the road, potentially being purchased by Avalonia Land Trust. And that's only a couple of miles away from where the airline trail and Mono Pond State Park come together. So there's gonna be facilities there potentially that you wouldn't need to have at Mono Pond for parking and camping and all those kind of things. So it's just something to think about, those 3 things together: Mono Pond, airline, and Camp Laurel.
Okay, yeah, no, those are good things, because just I can't share too much, but yeah, the airline trail as a key corridor is really like central to what this plan can be. So having those other, potential examples and connectivity, I think will help this plan move forward as well. So that is really helpful to have that, like, that larger context and how that can fit with what Monopond's potential future can be. Yeah, can you send me the stuff on the airline trail, the 12 towns information, a little bit more of that?
Yep, there's a whole, yes.
Is that, or that's in the emails you sent? I haven't had a chance to dig in to all of the.
I'll send an update on that and on the Hebron Trail system.
Okay, yes, yeah, that will be really helpful because I think that will help Deep understand, or yeah, certain folks understand how important that airline trail connectivity is to all of this other things happening in the region.
Yeah, Kim Bradley is very involved with that, so she's very aware of it.
Yeah, including that in our documentation, I think will help though strengthen what we're presenting to Deep for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, so just going back through this, the results a little bit, talking about some of the unique things that are found on site. That included the historical structures, especially at Mint Brook, wildlife and floral and biodiversity, along with the hydrology and education value are all important resources for Monopond. Issues, I think these are not surprising to folks here. Some of the main issues at Monopond include mud. That's something we saw and are working to, as part of the plan of how to remediate some areas and find opportunities around those points. And ATVs, along with other questionable activities, and then invasives, both invasives and aquatic invasives, were on the list there. So user conflict wasn't that high right now, and some of the other ones are more just related to pond remediation needs, such as fish kill and then just in general the beach tree disease. The majority of folks right now using the trails actually are coming from the neighborhoods around Monopond, walking from home. Some are accessing it from the existing lot, while others are accessing it from points on the airline trail as kind of key opportunities. And one person, I think, who lives on the pond crosses the ice at times when it is frozen.
Not in the last 3 years.
Not in the last few years, yeah. That is a nice option to have when it does freeze. Some of the experiences that people are desired are, again, that peaceful being in nature, getting out and experiencing the quiet, all things associated with being in this like natural setting. It's therapeutic and tranquil, accessible. So just very much enjoyment of what Monopond is. As a site, as a natural resource. Desired future experiences of just wanting to see things that are going to be well maintained, better trail system. Some folks wanting to see no change at all. But a lot of it relating to a lot of folks want to see some more trail system, more loops and things that go along with those, including signage and wayfinding, camping was on there. That's not something likely to be in the plan, but knowing about the Camp Laurel happening nearby, that provides that opportunity, which is really nice to have. And then with this being within, you know, walking and biking distance from there, that, you know, that's a great option for connectivity. Then what's missing? Mountain bike trails, loop trails, dry trails, flow trails, access, official access from the airline trail, also beginner friendly trails, water trail, which I think that's related probably to some of that invasive species control, and accessibility, being needed. And then just some other comments. There was comments about general park improvements, wildlife protection, keeping the park as is, signage that's needed, patrolling what's there by authorities, getting things on like online mapping resources, and then just more security camps. And I don't know what that ranch arch entry, oh, that was for a gateway, more of some kind of gateway entry to Mono Pond. I believe that's what the ranch arch entry was referring to. And folks that currently use Mono Pond do so quite frequently on a weekly to daily basis. So that, you know, folks in the community, it seems, value this as a community resource and are actually making use of it quite a bit. So that's fits with kind of what we saw and tracking with what's makes sense for that plan. Any questions on that?
Thanks. We look forward to this.
How soon are the shovels gonna be in the ground?
We're trying to work for that, yes. Ideally, as this gets kind of, we're working towards these goals of getting things approved with DEEP, which also means as we get through the concept development this winter, you know, tracking, so Matt and I can come back in the spring and start flagging some trails to be ready for you know, grant opportunities to come up in, you know, the spring. I think there are some opportunities that I think the other round of DEEP comes out in the spring. So trying to be ready for those opportunities so it can be shovel ready as quickly as possible. I know folks here definitely want to see improvements, and you've got the resources and tracking to, you know, as the friends group really like maintaining what's there and being able to promote some new trail experiences. So we're working as quickly as we can make DEEP work to get to that next point.
Any other questions?
Oh, it's nice to see all that data.
Liz, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you all. And thank you for being patient as we work through this process. And we will get you some concepts to view as soon as we can and talk about what's the future potential for Mono Pond itself.
So any of the things that you could share with us, you know, after this meeting, is that things we can also share publicly or no?
So when basically as DEEP is working through this process, we won't be able to do that until probably March to share with you and to share it. But once we can share with this team and vet things through you as well, then what's being put out there can be shown publicly. But DEEP wants to be behind it and make sure they're comfortable before they show anything to the public, and just so people don't get attached to things they're seeing on the map currently that may or may not be possible after internal reviews.
Yeah, I know typically they want to announce it before we can share it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how it's tracking right now and wanting to respect that. So I think, you know, for them, it's also getting comfortable with like having us like consultants helping, you know, move this plan forward and seeing that. But knowing as we get through this and into more of the details, all of your involvement will be pretty critical as well.
Great.
I just, who is the lady, the trails person you just mentioned?
Kim Bradley.
Kim.
Yeah.
Is it Kim that you're working with at Deep, or is it over her head that you're working?
So we're working with Kim directly. She's kind of coordinating the internal deep discussions. But we are meeting with Kim directly, and then it is going above her head as well to her supervisors and the larger deep both environmental specialists but this is a parks plan, so it will be coming, the decisions will be coming through state parks and not state forests or other or wildlife habitat. It will be coming through that side of deep ultimately, but needing to get through all the other process. But Kim is coordinating all of that and getting all the players together and making sure that we're, you know, we're providing them the details they need to be able to do that.
So Kim has a really long title,
Mm-hmm.
and she's responsible statewide, so her title is Connecticut Trails and Greenways Coordinator. So this is just one of the areas that she's involved with, so she's involved with stuff on the
But
other
if
side.
she's coordinating, that sounds good.
Transporter, yeah.
Yeah.
So she'll bring in the other deep people as needed. So,
Yeah. And this is really new for them, and she is really putting, you know, this process and this, you know, developing new trails in a new state park is really like she's really involved in trying to make this happen and wants it to be a successful project. So I think wanting to make sure we're respecting, you know, the things that she needs to do to get this, get the plan through and approved. We're trying to make sure we're doing everything that we can on our end for that.
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you all, and yeah, hopefully you all have a great holidays and have a good Christmas and yeah, get some snow maybe.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank
Thank
you, and happy holidays to you.
Thank you. Have a happy holidays. Bye.
Bye-bye. How's encouraging?
Very encouraging.
Making progress?
And I'm excited to get the stakeholder feedback. She said, yes, she'd send it, but
We can't publicize.
we can't publicize it.
And there's
We're
nothing in
missing-
there that surprised any of us.
No,
It's all,
No, but it's
What you would
nice to see how it came out. And kudos to Tom, who set up the winery,
yeah, that worked out great.
because,
I think it brought more people in.
I think it did too.
Yeah.
yes,
Because it
it
was
did.
something you could actually do kind of like a date night.
Yep.
And I even saw one of my Boy Scouts on a Scoutmaster. He lives in Lebanon and he uses monotone all the time with his fiancée.
There you
So
go.
we got to catch up.
Yeah, nice. Yes, it was very nice.
great.
of him.
whenever you want a good meeting, just throw in a little bubbly.
Yes. Or concern. Or
Okay,
cookies. You name it, they'll bring them out.
I know it.
Conference room.
Not
It's
quite-
all,
not quite the same.
It's okay, you always have nice.
And when Tom brought it up, I said, nah, that's too much fluff. But he was right.
Well done.
Every once in a while, a blind squirrel, you know,
Find that.
but it's far, I did reach out to Avalonia Land Trust this week. and to find out what the status was, and they did say they were moving forward, but they were waiting on some grants. So that it may be later into 2025 before they, you know, really make any progress with the Girl Scout camp.
Yeah.
They're still in the mix.
Oh, I think they will be. They're probably applying for the open space and watershed
They had to
grant.
get the dam, so.
That's,
The dam,
that's the grant that's one of the grants they're looking at.
Yeah, but there should be a shoe-in for the Oswald grant. Because it's, you know, at the state, they're starting to sit up and take notice of this area. So when we started this project 20 years ago, when we took that vote and said, so y'all wanna focus on Wellswood? And everybody said, okay. Did you ever imagine that it would mushroom like this?
Of course we did.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have done it if otherwise.
Never doubt our minds.
we need a plaque for land, trust in public lands. And that
I
was the
know.
real key to help put a spark to this.
You know, I was really hoping we could get the last 3 pieces of the puzzle
You never know.
before this plan went through. But I don't know if anybody's working on it.
It's not that hard to add, connect trails to new properties brought in.
Yes.
It's pretty easy to do, because
And what's it surrounded by this? No,
Devil's Upyard, I worked closely with the state, and luckily we had the ranger that was in charge of Devil's Upyard for the state, DEP. He was in my Boy Scout troop. So a lot of our Eagle Scout projects were building new trails to link into the state trail system of Devil's Upyard. So we actually created the whole other side of Devil's Upyard that did not have trails. That tied into a nature center. And those are some of the least used trails, because it's not by the waterfalls.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to Devil's Upyard, it's a spectacular.
Oh,
state
wow.
park.
yeah.
So anyway, it can grow.
Well, that's good. Okay, any other comments? Okay, we don't have a planning and zoning report because Justin is away. I do know that they're still working on in subcommittee, the subcommittee which Justin chairs. They're working on updating and refreshing the regulations. So that's something we really need to pay attention to. Because we don't want them to sneak something by us.
Does the winery actually sell or is that still pending?
I'm uncertain.
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay,
That's where I was too.
what's new in the Pine Street Parking Department?
We're at a point where we need to start getting the stakeholders together,
And who are the stakeholders?
the neighbors in the town. And the state,
Okay, and
and I'll have to make that happen after the holidays. I've
yes,
been a little busy with HVAC.
yeah,
That's not an excuse anymore.
I know.
It's a done deal.
So you gotta come up with a new excuse.
The vote's done. Now I just have to get a 750-page contract put together today.
Oh.
That's my next challenge. We're making progress.
And where are we getting the $5 million? Oh, no, let's not start that.
no, that's not. Okay, anything in the Salmon River?
There's fish.
We had a meeting last night, and I guess the only progress that's a little different is that wild and scenic designation conference. Mark, you didn't get to that? I didn't,
No, I didn't make that.
but I think it's recorded and I plan on viewing it.
But that was wild and scenic. Was that for Salmon River Wild?
Yeah.
Scenic?
Yeah.
Okay. Cause they're contemplating wild and scenic for Hopper River? No, not Hopper River. No, wild and scenic is 10 Mile River. They're contemplating for Salmon River
Yes,
or 8 Mile River.
8 Mile is,
8 Mile
Apparently
is already wild and scenic.
Right,
they have,
Sylvia.
they've made more progress than we have. Same person, Pat, is coordinating it, of course.
Right.
So this was very preliminary. Apparently, the feedback is good enough so that they go into this recognizant stage, which is step 2. And, again, there's nothing that we do, as far as I know. It's collecting information and getting feedback from the towns. It sounded like it was fun to discuss, but, there's some moving parts there with our representatives, Congress people. And then they report on the, monitoring system, you know, they collect their data, temperature and salinity. They have student involvement. She works with, high school groups. Hydrilla has been found at Holbrook Pond, and again, that's not our ballywhack, but it is nearby. And it's coming up the river, it's in Salmon Cove. So there's various. I get my hats mixed up because we talked about this in wetlands and all these things, but she's very concerned about it down there at the river. And everybody's pointing to upstream, possible upstream contamination.
And they did some testing of killing the hydrilla in the Connecticut River.
Down that area.
And I think they were doing it in Essex and Adam. Where else? Amber Cove?
Amber,
No, Amber Cove, I don't.
Amber is under treatment. The Army Corps of
Oh, they are?
Engineers is actively involved. She wants to get their attention for Salmon Cove as well, but that hasn't happened yet.
And Salmon Cove has a lot of weeds.
Yeah, they said it was getting worse.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Holbrook Pond, that's the one in Hebron,
Yes,
and that's flows down past the old mill site there, that's the drainage.
yeah, it must get into the Germany somehow. I made a point to check on exactly what that outlet looks like.
Yeah, I believe that's it. When you go down, when you go through Hebron Center, heading toward Marlboro, you go down past the veterinary.
Yeah.
And you got the mill site and stuff.
Yes.
I think that's
It has to be that,
I think that's the drainage.
because it comes out, across 80. And so, 85, yeah. And I guess that's about it.
So they are going forward to explore,
Yes,
because I never got an answer from the Board of Selectmen. I presented, but we never really discussed it to a point of getting a, yes, we'd like you to pursue that, Mark. So that I might need some help if open space wants to pursue this in pulling together materials to explain this. I don't think we have anything that would explain any negatives to it, which might be some regulations that could affect a landowner's ability to develop within the watershed. But that's what would come up because the board is concerned about free right to do what you want on your property. I don't know. I haven't heard any negative in the Salmon River watershed. As we developed in East Haddon, there was no blowback.
yeah, nothing negative has come up in these discussions either, but
Right.
if I hear of something, I'll bring it up, but
That's what we'll be asking.
you know, it's, our role is so minor.
Right, with the little bit we have. But we are at the beginning of it.
Yes, yeah. Look to see if there's any water in Midbrook.
Right now, probably, there's quite a bit right now.
Everybody doing really well.
I was out there yesterday or the day before.
it's perennial. There's always
Very, very.
some water. like the Oakley Brook is perennial, and the 3-year drought we had, it never dried completely. Got to a little trickle, but.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Keep us posted. Okay. Up River Trail and 12 Town Trail Alliance.
Yeah, I kind of sent everyone an update before the meeting on all this stuff, but I'll just hit a couple of things.
Yeah.
So the new Hop River, Bridge in Columbia, you know,
Yes,
if you go down there, you can see all the new, markings that have been done on the road, that there's, bollards now instead of gates, new signage, all the stuff that, Hop River Trail Alliance was trying to do is implemented along the whole trail, but that pretty much everything is right there, so it's an easy place to see what that, and that's kind of what they want to do now that that standard has been developed, that would go over to the airline trail potentially. That, and right now for the Hop River Trail, they use Willimantic as mile 0. The thought is that it would be the Rhode Island, end of the airline trail, that would be mile 0. The 12 Town Alliance, the CTRC and D had come up with a master plan, and so now we're into the implementation phase. So the goal is to create the actual corporation in early January or February of 2025. And then that, once that 501c3 is created, it would be able to apply for grants then for improvements along the airline trail. The other thing that's going on is I would say last year, but earlier this year, the East Coast Greenway, the Ride the East event in June, Mono Pond was the featured thing. This year, it's gonna be all the museums and historical sites along the Hop River. It's still gonna start and end in Willimantic, but it's gonna go all the way to Manchester and Vernon, depending on how far people wanna ride. So one of the stops will be the Hop River Preserve.
does Joan know that?
Yes,
Good,
Okay.
so,
it could be just that we have a docent or something at the
right,
road crossing, say, in the future would be something here, but not today. And so the East Coast Greenway event is actually gonna be May 17th. And by chance, the Thread City Hop Fest is May 18th. And we're exploring some sort of co-sponsoring, come for the ride, stay for the beer kind of thing, and so we'll see how that develops.
What's the event called?
Ride the East.
see, that was Tom's idea,
Ride East?
the
Different
man knows how to give a party.
Well, it's all these different things kind of bleed into each other. It's like I end up going to 20 meetings in a week, it seems like, but
I know, but which one?
yeah.
You know,
But they are, I mean, and pretty much the same thing too. Everybody that's involved with the Hop River Trail Alliance is also pretty much involved with the airline trail.
Yeah.
So you really do, it's like, okay, how many
yeah,
meetings?
get such cross section.
Which is good, because there is, once people start to know each other, there's a lot of trust in what people are saying. A lot less conflict when it's all new players.
Yeah. Well done, thank you. And do you have anything to add for Friends of Mono Pond?
Yeah, so just recently, a couple weeks ago, we again applied for the grant through DEEP for the removal of the aquatic plants in Mono Pond,
Maintenance of.
whatever you want to call it.
Management,
But anyway,
Those good plans will be hard.
when we applied the first time in January, after that, we got a lot of good feedback from DEEP as to how we can improve our application. So we made those changes this time, so we may have a better chance of getting a grant.
let's see what happens.
You know, I wasn't quite sure what she mentioned one thing about an entry. But you know, that would be a wonderful project for the Friends. addressing the entry, you know, at the parking lot entry off Hunt Road into the park? Because you don't even know you're entering a park.
It's just a little boat sign.
Yeah, that's all, yeah, I mean,
It's one of those things that may not be what the location for where the entry would, the park entry would be.
well, it is certainly always gonna be.
Right, but I would assume that with the master plan, that's gonna be a lower volume than some of the others.
And they want that for boats. They don't want it filled with bicycle cars. and
Right,
all
yeah.
of a sudden the fishermen arrives and
Guess
jump
what?
in.
That's the only parking.
Well, right now,
At the moment.
I had met with, Jerry James and our fire chief and stuff to talk about the need for emergency and service access, emergency access, and public access. And after walking the property, I think one of the better locations for a real entrance is on the Hebron end of Wellswood Zola Road, because that would also tie into Hebron's goal of having all these trails and things interconnected and bringing people up into Hebron Center for services.
Yeah,
So, and it's a much shorter distance, straighter, all those kind of things. So I think that's probably one of the better ones. The other thing too is if this Camp Laurel thing happens, that might be a satellite parking lot for a lot of these things and not have to need large parking lots in Columbia or Lebanon, but we'll see.
and it might be possible to expand the Chakota parking on Pine Street. Parking lot there for the airline. That's actually in Lebanon. And it's very large and it'll hold horse trailers. But it could be bigger.
The other thing too is if you're a bicyclist, the where the airline trail crosses Route 87. The state owns quite a bit of land there that could also be a larger parking lot.
Yes.
I know there's issues with sight lines and things there, but
That's for sure.
so there's, if they look at. Which is probably Kim Bradley's role, is look at the whole region.
Yeah.
You know, and say, okay, this is what we need, you know, I don't know how much more, I think probably one of the largest lots is the Route 85 parking lot in Hebron for the airline trail. Quite often even that's full.
Well, on Route 207 in Hebron, that's not very far from Mount Pond. And that parking could be greatly improved.
And there may be some additional open space between Leonard Bridge and that parking lot. It would also get you access into, so there's a lot of different possibilities once it
Right.
starts happening.
And the possibility that we're not entertaining is right. The most convenient ones, like next to Todd's house, that's out. And probably the big one by the root cellar, that's probably not a good idea unless we can get Silverstein property. So it's all in the works, right?
Correct.
Yeah. How are we doing on trail maintenance? Have you? set
Everything's
up a
good.
Schedule?
Yep, I walked all of your trails the other day,
Did
on
you?
Utley Hill and the rec park, and most of that was good. Segda Farm, I've had some help over there, the blazes and stuff have been repainted and things. I just walked up around in, by Todd's house there, the white trail and stuff, that's all good, so right now, I'd say we're in pretty good shape.
Good. Busy man. Thank you. Okay. Any other old business? Okay, new business. Did you all have a good time looking at P O C D? Did anybody look at it? I knew Tom, but did anybody?
I've read it, but I haven't, it didn't really.
What is it?
Plan of conservation and development,
You weren't here last week. I sent you all home with homework.
You pass that out?
No, no,
Electronic.
because I only have
Electronic.
one copy. It's on the website.
For the directors meeting right now.
Yeah.
And before you get into P O C D, everything is with the Mary Shaw property. And the lawyers have everything for the closing, so the second I get the final, you're good, we can close on that.
Good.
So,
I'm sorry, which parcel?
Mary Shaw's property on Route 66.
Oh, yeah.
It connects, it's the
Because.
The cell tower.
Kursky-
Yeah,
cell tower,
Yeah.
Right, but it's the DOT, not the DEP.
DOT, yes, DOT.
DOT.
We made the corrections to the map showing everything they wanted, a stop sign, a stop bar, and clearly defined property line in our entrance to the proposed parking there.
Mhm.
So, once they send me that looks great, I can close. So the lawyers are prepped and ready.
Cool.
Very good. Okay.
Have a great day all. Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Thank
you.
And Tom, or Dan, would you just go to the recorder when you're done?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so if you look at open spaces charge, you know, when the committee was formed, we are advisory to the Board of Selectmen on open space acquisition. And also, we have an educational component. Okay, now, that's a very limited scope. So we sit here and twiddle our thumbs and wait for the Board of Selectmen to say, so, is this a good property to get? Like they did with the Pekarsky Shut property. Okay, and we came through and we said, yes, that would be good. It connects Rec Park, it protects wildlife, it's the headwaters of Gifford Road. Okay, and so we gave them an opinion, we discussed it, we took a vote, we said, yeah, go for it. Okay, and they got it. Okay, that's really how we function. And we did that with Zebda Farm, open space.
Mhm.
We did that with Zebda Farm on Route 66. We did that with the Tasman Farm. We did that with Hop River, that open space. We did that with the Ram open space, you know, and the Min Preserve piece in there, including the Robinson's Triangle and the Overlook Lantern. Okay, so we have a really good success rate. We have protected over the last 25 years a great deal of open space in Columbia. And when you do find the POCD and go through it, we have followed the POCD open space plan. We have essentially almost completely preserved the largest priority forest land. And in Lowe's Woods, we went after that and systematically we're getting it. But there are other priority forest lands that we have not touched. And there are riparian corridors that we have only slightly touched. We've got Mint Brook nicely sewed up. Okay, good for us. The Columbia Lake watershed is not 100% protected because the town land has no conservation restriction on it. And that's a big part. And the west side is still good, but it's not protected. Only a little bit of the town land protects it with no conservation restriction. Jimmy Cobb, and Karen Thompson and what's his name? And a couple of other landowners on West Street border that swamp. No conservation restriction. They're not about to develop it, so there's lots of time, but there's more work to do. Riparian Forest Giffords Brook, remember we took a stab at that years ago with no response. But Giffords Brook we might approach this more from the conservation restriction along the corridor rather than, y'all, we want to buy your land. Because let me tell you, that's not gonna fly in this town, not after the referendum. We'll be paying off that bond for $8 million. And so I'm of the opinion that we need to approach landowners, educate them, and say, you know, your property, Giffords Brook, which is really important, riparian corridor, it runs through your property. Would you like to put a conservation restriction on how many feet of it? How many feet do you need to protect the riparian corridor?
That's not a wetlands issue, but that's a zoological issue.
Well, what does the wetland regs say? Thou shalt not build within
75 feet.
75 feet. So, you know, if we ask for a conservation easement on, I don't know, 100 feet, 200, something like that, that would go a long way. They still own their property, they can still raise sheep, they can still hay it, but within 200 feet, let's say, of the riparian corridor, conservation restriction, so that they just leave it alone, so that it can filter the water. And what I'm driving at is this would not be for hiking trails. We have, how many miles?
It seems like, too many miles.
We have enough hiking trails in town. We have enough recreation. I mean, this trail plan that's coming up is gonna be huge. You know, so there are places to go to recreate. Perhaps we should shift our focus now in this committee and in the Conservation Commission and wetlands and planning and zoning and look at water. Do you know what it would cost to get sewers and city water in this town. The
As a-
HVAC system would be peanuts. And Columbia can't do that. You're too small, you have no tax base. So what I'm suggesting is that all of the water in Columbia originates right here, except for along the Hop River and the 10 Mile. Those originate out of town. The Hop River, Bolton, right? And the 10 Miles, Lebanon. So other than that, all the water is right here, and we can control all that. If we choose to, if the town chooses to. So we could take a look, and there are maps in here that show all the water resources, the important corridors. And if we try to protect those, we protect our drinking water. And we should focus on that first and foremost. Columbia Lake is not, believe it or not, a really important aquifer. It's completely overdeveloped. It's great for recreation, but that's not the most important for drinking water. So look at it from that point of view. The other thing we need to look at are the corridors, wildlife corridors, because natural resource diversity is huge in our environment. Because I always point at Columbia Lake because you know, you don't get the foxes, you do get the bees, you know, it's like, it's so overdeveloped. That's a really overdeveloped section of town. And so if we can, and there's nothing you can do about that. But the rest of the town, you look, because you need the corridors. Remember we had Brian Avery in here, and he talked about the corridors. And if we start looking at the town from that point of view, rather than hiking trails, but how are the deer and the coyote and the foxes and the geese going to get around in town to survive and stuff like that. So I'm suggesting that we start looking at open space now.
That require a change in the P O C D, because 80% of the stuff we talked about here is not under our mandate of what we're supposed to be doing.
No,
And if you're thinking about giving the open space committee the mandate to involve conservation easements and the sorts of conservation things you're talking about, mean redefining our mandate in the P O C D.
well, yeah, and I'm thinking, yes, okay, so some landowner says, yes, I'm gonna give you a conservation easement. Whoa, then that's in our bailiwick. But I think we need to start educating. Who do we need to educate? Well, the public. But we need to be working on PCC, wetlands, conservation. We need to work with the Conservation Commission to get the rest of the town to stop being reactionary. And when they who have power, like, I'll just say PCC, for example, while they're redoing their regs, maybe they start thinking in this direction. like somebody on a different brook and says, yeah, I want to put a subdivision on my farm. Maybe PCC can say, okay, but let's do it this way. Let's do cluster with open space and let's protect the riparian corridor. And so while they're redoing their regs, they can put those kinds of things in. Not that you can't say, no, you can't develop it because it's private land. But, so I'm also suggesting that we get inside people's heads on those commissions. What do you think?
Well, this is a major proposal. And I think, I think it's gonna take a lot of discussion, and I think we need all of our members present. We're sparsely attended today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was disappointing to me.
Yeah, the people that we interact with tend to be very task specific, when when the parcel shows up, we pop our heads off it when they listen to us, and if there's not something that they can take action on or need to take action on, they really don't want to give us the time to be educated,
I know that.
They're very task oriented, and we'd have to find, ways to educate them outside of those very task oriented episodes. Yeah.
So anyway, my thought is that I would start attending. Just tuning in on wetlands, find out how they work. I'll be talking to you. Yeah, because we've got a plant on wetlands and we've got a plant on PCC. So we'll infiltrate. So when the subject comes up at a party or a function, see what you can do to influence. Okay? Any other business? I move we adjourn.
And,
Does that need a second?